Welcome to Across the Balkans. I'm Latic. Great to have your company. Ever since Russia launched its attack on Ukraine nearly 2 years ago, U.S. President Joe Biden has justified sending more than $75 billion in aid to Kiev for one purpose: to contain Russian aggression. And now Biden is warning about possible spillover effects on southeastern Europe. His remarks came after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said he has information about Moscow's next possible war in the Balkans. The region has been divided ever since Russia launched its attack back in 2022. In response, the EU has sped up accession talks with several countries, including plans to open negotiations with Bosnia and Herzegovina in March.
We have seen some progress. We have seen a real commitment to the accession goal, with important laws adopted, for example, on the integrity of the judiciary. So you have shown that you can deliver if your country moves forward as one.
I firmly believe that time we have ahead of us, and that is month of March until the meeting of EU Council, will be used to get a firm date to open negotiations talks with the EU. I'm convinced that we will get the date based on our work and performance and responsibility. I'm sure that path towards EU membership is not easy, but with dialogue and determination in achieving our ultimate foreign policy goal, we will reach this finish line.
High Representative for Bosnia and Herzegovina Christian Schmidt recently talked with Across the Balkans, where he assessed the current situation in Bosnia. Schmidt said despite fears of a new conflict as a result of increasing separatist rhetoric in the country, there are no activities that would lead to war.
I think good news is that the Dayton General Framework on Peace worked. Their ceasefire continued. There is no war, there is no terror, there are no activities which could come to a wartime situation. The sustainability of the development in the society gives a lot of concern. Unfortunately, we see more separation of ethnic groups and no sufficient talk about what has happened and why it has happened and how one can prevent for the future any violence.
In our recent interview with Republika Srpska President Milorad Dodik, he described the current situation as being as divided as immediately after the war. What do you say to that proposal?
I wouldn't say this, and it's interesting if this is the analysis of Milorad Dodik. It would be interesting to hear what he's doing not to continue. I see that maybe 10, 15 years ago, things seem to be more agreeable for everybody. And since some have tested out that playing on the national narrative, it would bring more votes.
The office of the High Representative was never supposed to be an enduring position. What would it take for the office of the High Rep to no longer be required?
This is indeed one of the most serious descriptions about the situation. Indeed, the expectation would be that, let me say, after one generation, this country should have found its own way of stability, democracy, and sustainability in development, especially as a country now applying for membership in the European Union. We see that a lot of things do not work as they should. So the confidence that without a contribution of the international community, things would go on a good path is limited. In this country, we have a lot of backward looking, and just describing about things would have been normal. No, they have not been normal. There have been 100,000 killed people. There is no joint reflection about what could we do in future better, what do we have to deny that ever it would come again. So I think this is the basis which is lacking in society. So why not sitting and we see that there is no joint position about what is urgently needed for the people. Political parties have the tendency, and these are parties of all, let me say, denominations, that they care for their situation, for them, but I see a lack of caring for people. This is the key problem which the international community cannot solve on its own only, but can contribute.
Bosnia and Herzegovina is on track to begin its EU membership discussions in the spring. What needs to happen if that's going to be successful?
Let me say a more proactive behavior would be necessary. It will give instead, if this would not be the case, this would lead to a lot of misunderstanding. If this is taken, and we say, come on, friends, let us just jump beyond our detailed interest. We have just to look what is important for the country. This would be a good step forward, but this will not be a path only of glory and wonderful times. This will be a very harsh path, per aspera ad astra.
Are they doing the work, though? Are they doing what is needed to make this a successful membership discussion?
There are a lot, especially including with politicians say, okay, let's go on, let's work. They have to invest most of their activity into find a kind of compromise. And there is a need to understand that the key issues have to be decided on state level, and everybody has to accept state. Milorad Dodik, to refer to him, sometimes gives the impression that he does not want to have a state. Okay, you can't have the cake and eat it. What do you want? Do you want to have a split of the country in a region where we know very well that every change causes the danger of affection, of spillover to other countries, regions? So better we take what we have and work on it. If we would come to such a situation, I think the auspices would be better.
With the current rhetoric coming from Republika Srpska, is that having a negative impact on Bosnia's chances of success in its membership applications?
Absolutely. I see sometimes as well this inward looking in this country does avoid that there is a view from outside. Look, if anybody in Europe or in any other place of the world looks in Bosnia and Herzegovina, sees a wonderful landscape, wonderful people, but if it starts to explain how complicated constitutional and political affairs are, people are tending to just to close down. Say, okay, I don't want to hear. And if they hear the rhetoric coming from Banja Luka, they asking themselves, hey, what's on there? And they want to come to European integration and telling first that the others are wrong, or trying, I have to say, to dysfunction the highest court, the constitutional court. All these things you cannot translate in a rational understanding of how to proceed. So best advice for me would be just stop this rhetoric, and not only the rhetoric, as well the legislation, which is illegally done timely at the parliament in Banja Luka, and try to find a compromise.